Our next session is an exclusive keynote from our headline sponsor, AWS, and will detail how infrastructure becomes an accelerator for creativity in commerce. So it is with great pleasure that I introduce to the stage Marco Corman Rodriguez, Partner Leader, Retail and Consumer Goods at AWS.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Okay, in this session, we're going to be talking about how generative AI and agentic AI is transforming the customer experience. I'm going to walk through a few examples from Amazon and how at AWS we're supporting those. And then later on in the session, I'm going to call John on stage, and we're going to have a discussion about how Amplience is making this a reality for many retailers already today. So I'm Marco Corman Rodriguez, Partner Lead for Retail and Consumer Goods at AWS. I've been with AWS for about 4 years, and I'm based here in London. So to kick us off, at Amazon, we've been deploying AI across our business for over 30 years. From the very early days, when we were an online bookseller, we were already deploying machine learning to recommend books at scale. Machine learning also forms part of our supply chain in predicting daily demand for over 400 million items every single day across our globe. Particularly important in peak season, Prime Day, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and so on. Machine learning also powers the robots in our customer fulfillment center, guiding them in their pick pass through the warehouses. And this is really important so that we can commit to our promise of delivering products in the next day. Alexa is built from 30 different machine learning models, serving billions of customer engagements, interactions every single week, from helping you shop online to helping with your smart home, and to various other different things as well. Computer vision powers our Just Walk Out technology. So this is our technology which you'll find in Amazon Go stores, but also in 400 other stores across the world from third-party retailers. And it's a technology which allows the shoppers to walk into the store, grab the product, and then walk out for that frictionless checkout experience. And computer vision also powers our drones within our Prime delivery service as well. So you can see machine learning and AI has been a core component of our business and operations from the early days. And it's really what has allowed us to continue to grow and scale our business over the years. But generative AI is different. So we believe that generative AI is on a par in terms of a transformative technology with the internet and the iPhone. So it's not theoretical like blockchain or crypto. It's real and it's delivering value today. And when we think about generative AI, we think about it in the lens of these three things. So how can generative AI be used to improve on a customer experience? How can generative AI be used to improve on the product experience and to improve on the employee experience? But it's critically within the customer experience that we believe generative AI will transform every single aspect of it. And we're going to be looking at some of the examples. So this is a use case of generative AI use cases that we've built internally. We've built it in collaboration with some of our customers, our partners, and analysts. And it's a taxonomy that we continually evolve and adapt as we move forward. But you can see the key pillars over there. And what we saw initially with a lot of our customers is that they experimented in the IT-centric use cases. So deploying code generation tools to make developers more productive. And then a lot of customers experimented on the customer-centric use cases. And those are things like improving on the customer service side, improving marketing content, we were talking a lot about that, and also improving the shopping experience. On the product side, it's all about how can generative AI be used to design, describe, and price the products. And finally, on the employee side, it's really all about making your employees more productive. So one of the common use cases there is around knowledge base systems. So this is where you feed the knowledge base with a number of your company documents, and then you allow the users to query the data using natural language. And certainly at Amazon, we are encouraged by leadership to use a lot of these tools in our day-to-day jobs. So it's a big use case there. And you'll notice that a lot of these use cases, there is a common theme in a lot of these use cases, and that is the importance of the content supply chain in order to actually make those effective and scalable in production. Because it's one thing doing proof of concept, and it's another thing completely to actually deploy it into production and have it integrated into your flows. So if we look at a few examples from Amazon, so on the product content side, we have our Amazon Marketplace, as you all know. We have a couple of million sellers on the Amazon Marketplace, and we have a number of tools that we've created to support them in listing their products on the Marketplace. And we started off a few years ago by giving them the ability to enter in a few words about a product and then having generative AI create that title and description from a short input. And we've taken that further, and we've given them the ability to also upload images into the seller portal and then have the model extract key attributes from the images, such as the color and style and other things, and enrich those product listing with a number of attributes. And that's really important because we know that the more attributes you have on those product listings, the better the discovery and the better the conversions. Review summaries. So many of you will have seen this on the Amazon app. Before we used to scroll and read dozens of reviews to understand what other customers are saying about those products. Now those reviews are being summarized. You can actually click on a particular feature that interests you to see exactly what customers are saying about that specific feature. So really good use case for machine learning models to summarize information like that. Video and display ads. So our Amazon ads business also have launched a number of tools to help sellers create adverts to target their customers. So one of these is the ability for sellers to go in and through a prompt interface, explain exactly what they're looking for and have the model generate a display ad or a short form video. And a short form video could also be, could take as an input an image, say for example, sunscreen on a beach, and have that animated with waves crashing in the background. And that's important. We know that's important because customers engage with dynamic content far more than engage with static, boring stock images of products. And then there at the top, we've got product search, Amazon Rufus. So some of you will have seen this in the Amazon app as well. So Amazon Rufus is our AI shopping assistant. And Rufus has been trained on hundreds of millions of products from across the Amazon catalog. It's been trained on those titles, the descriptions, the images, the Q&A, the community information there as well. And because it's a large language model, it retains general information from the internet as well. And it's there to support shoppers along their shopping journeys. So a typical journey may look like this. So let's say I'm looking for a new coffee maker. And I could start off by asking Rufus, doing a little bit of research, what's the difference between a drip coffee machine and a pour-over coffee machine? And Rufus will respond and give me like a detailed side-by-side comparison of those two product categories. Kind of like a high-level SWOT analysis. Having chosen drip coffee machine, I can then follow up and ask questions to Rufus such as, what are the key features I should be looking out for when shopping for this product? And all the time, Rufus is giving me recommendations of products that I can go and have a look at. I can filter those product recommendations by saying something like, show me the ones which are easy to clean. And Rufus knows how to do this because it's been trained on the reviews and it knows what people are saying about those products. Having chosen a product, and I can click through to the PDP and then ask specific questions about that product, such as, does this one come with free filters? So you can see how that's a really powerful and engaging way for the shoppers to navigate through their journey. And it's something that we've seen a big uptick in as well. More and more shoppers are moving away from keywords-based searching on our site to more of this natural language, highly personalized flows. And what's important there is to make sure that your product pages are really enriched with as many attributes as possible, because that's what these generative AI chatbots are going to be leveraging. So a number of different ways that we've been helping our customers. So you see Rufus there at the top, but also in virtual stylists and our AI stylists. So a few weeks ago, we launched our Amazon Nova Canvas family of models, which includes a feature for doing virtual try-on. So there's a couple of flavors of this. So either you can try on clothing on yourself to see what it would look like, or you could have a look at what furniture would look like in a space. And it's really easy. You start by uploading a couple of images. So it could be an image of yourself or the space, and an image of a product. And then what Nova will do is create a photorealistic simulation of what that product will look like in real life, either as a piece of clothing or the furniture in your room. And this is really important because it solves one of the old problems of e-commerce. And that is that as consumers, as shoppers, there's always an element of uncertainty when we buy online and what will that product actually look like in real life. So what this does, what we see is that this has helped with purchasing confidence and ultimately is leading to a reduction in returns as well. So here we've got a demo on product innovation, another area where we're helping a lot of our customers. So this is a demo that we built for Shop Talk. On the top right there, you can see my colleague selected a category and then started sketching that product within that category. And all the time, the model is refining and drawing what that product looks like. Once you're happy with what the end product looks like, we have capability to create this 3D model and then push that 3D model onto the proto, which is a 3D holographic box that you can see there on the bottom right. And we took this a step further. We also got this to create the Amazon listing for that product, the title, the description, and even the pricing. And this is a really powerful way to do really fast and iterative product ideation and actually test those ideas with some customers as well. Here is another example. So here at the top, you have Amazon Lens. So again, many of you will have interacted with this on the Amazon app. So Amazon Lens allows the user to take a photo of any product, and what it'll do a reverse image lookup for the same or similar products within the Amazon catalog. So this is a really nice way of doing product discovery, which is non-textual based. And here on the bottom right, we've got demos of how we help our customers do the same. So, in summary, working closely with Amazon, we are innovating on behalf of customers. We are pushing lots of new features into production. We're testing those features, seeing how customers react to them, scaling them up to Amazon scale, and then we're taking the same features and functionality and making them available through AWS to our customers and our partners. So think of Amazon, so AWS, we have that infrastructure, the AI infrastructure and models. And then the magic really happens when customers and specialized partners like Amplience bridge the AI infrastructure with their knowledge and industry expertise to create these applications that have real business impact for retailers. And with that, I'd like to invite John onto the stage, and we'll have a short discussion on how Amplience is making this a reality for many of their customers. All right, well, thank you very much, John. Well, thank you for inviting us here, and this is an amazing event, and what a location as well. And this is definitely special, and what a treat. John, you are the first to market with a agentic AI platform that solves the content supply chain challenges. I'm curious, what was that initial aha moment?
Yeah, so we followed the Amazon process, actually, the working backwards process. So it was probably about 3 years ago now. And we were doing a new product direction project. And we started out with a whole bunch of different hypotheses, one of which was AI. We started creating things like PRFAQs from the working backwards, which is you write the press release of what you're going to deliver and the FAQs around that. And we did that with the initial thing around AI. And then we tested that with all of our customers, with partners, with you, actually went out with you guys as well. And what we found was that it really started to resonate, and we could pinpoint what the areas of friction were. And it seemed at the time, I mean, this was before even Agentic was out, and it seemed at the time there was a whole bunch of processes within the content supply chain that just needed optimizing. So we started there, and then we had an initial strategy around that, which actually evolved into what we have today, which we realized that there was much more around the content supply chain than just pinpointing and fixing individual things and just creating APIs. It was much more about, well, how do you orchestrate it? And I think one of the interesting things is that there's so much innovation out there in the space that it's impossible to do all of it. It's impossible to generate every single use case at the level you need to do. It's impossible to do all of the tooling that you might want to do. You know, there is so much innovation out there, but the challenge is how do you bring that together and how do you use that and employ it against the content supply chain so you can actually deliver some value from it. You know? Otherwise, we end up back in the days where it was the old type of development, where you were just wiring things in and you needed developers to fix it. But going through that process allowed us to really understand what was important to customers and working with customers.
No, I like that, and that's definitely central to how Amazon operates. Always working backwards from customer and putting customer center of mind. And I really like how you described it as well. So it's rather than just solving specific points, looking at the whole process and integrating that whole process into it. And there's been, you know, we talk a lot about agentic AI, and sometimes it feels a little bit abstract. Yeah. So how can we make it real? And, you know, what's like a real case for retailers out there?
Yeah, so I mean, the obvious one that most people start with is something like product descriptions. And the first thing you'll do is and we've had a few of these, where you'll just write something directly into an API, and you do back and forth with whichever model, going through Bedrock, for instance, which goes straight backwards and forwards to a model, which is fine, but then you've got to, and we heard this earlier, you have to start thinking about the brand tone of voice, the style, and then different products from different categories have different characteristics on how you want to develop out that brand tone of voice or even the product itself. We had one customer, that's the one in the Middle East, Landmark, where, for instance, in their product taxonomy, you couldn't say pushchair, you had to say stroller, for instance, right? So you can imagine that there's thousands of these rules that are very specific to individual categories. Now, the interesting about agentic, as opposed to just the backward and forward, like straightforward, just call a model, get an answer, get it backwards and forwards, that's much more coding in the root of what you want. So it's a bit more like traditional development, right? You just find the business requirements, you build it in there, and you do the calls, and then if you need to go and change the brand tone of voice, you've got to do it again, right? You've got to go in there and fix it, developer goes and does it. With an agent, it's slightly different. You kind of give it a goal or an intent. Right? So it might be your goal is to simply write a product description, but then you give it tools. So the tools might be a research tool to go out to the internet and go and find out something from, if you don't, for instance, if you're selling sportswear, you might want to go out to the brand site and see what it says before you kind of start generating that product description, right? And find out, make sure you get all the product attributes. It may be styling. So it might be, how do we talk about that particular product? It may be finding out things that are very specific that you need to talk about in that particular category and that brand. Or it might be that it's a specific brand you need to talk about it differently, you know, in a different tone of voice. And it will make that decision. You don't wire it in. It gets the information it needs, the intent. It gets the object and the intent, and then it makes its own decision on how to do that. So it'll use all of those tools and then come out with an output.
Yeah, that's it. So we're moving away from these rule-based approach, yes, and leveraging the powerful reasoning capabilities of a model to actually figure out the right answer by accessing tools and data and synthesizing all of this information to come to the answer, yeah.
And the power comes when you wire them all together.
Yeah.
So if you just have one single agent, it's useful. But if you can then wire agents with different goals and different intents, you can wire them together seamlessly, then you've got a workflow. When you join a couple of workflows together, now you're starting to look at a content supply chain. You can start operating the whole of your content operations on that.
Yeah, and so you mentioned earlier Landmark Group. So I'm curious, so what was the use case there? And can you talk a little, maybe some of the metrics or results they've seen?
Yeah, so it used to take them something like 15 days to get a product live. They had to get it live in 2 languages, English and Arabic. Okay, and they have a very talented content team, 2 content teams, one in Arabic, one in English, right? They had a system that they built themselves that basically deals with. It's a bit like a PLM or not quite a CMS because they use us for CMS. It's more, but it manages the content through. It's not quite a PIM. It's kind of a cross between them. Manage that flow. So the teams go in and out of that system. But they had so many products come to it. Sometimes, say, during some big event, they might end up with 10,000 new products. And it's really hard to get that entire team to create all the product descriptions for 10,000 products. Inevitably, what happens with this is that you end up with your long-tail products not being quite as defined as your head products, for instance, and you end up with a lot more mistakes, right? And it's not that efficient. So we worked with the teams, and we generated product descriptions in both English and Arabic, and it removed it, it was like 5 days for that. And it removed that down into, I think it was like 10,000 product descriptions in like 90 minutes or something like that, which collapsed down that part of the supply chain, right? So like nearly 30%, which is massive. There were a couple of really good learnings there because that project was the genesis of Workforce One, which was all about how do we build it so that you get the brand and the understanding run by business users, but still have the integration. So we had to build the integration into their systems, and then we used that, hold it back. The interesting thing between, say, Arabic, what they need to produce, and English, it wasn't a straightforward translation. It's what I would call transcreation. Because in English, for instance, you will talk about a product description. In the product description, you talk about the product with actual facts. You know, it's a dress, it's this big, etc. Right? It's got these kind of sleeves, etc. Or it's a table, it's wooden, it's got metal legs, or whatever. Right? It would talk about what it is. In Arabic, you don't do that. They have very specific. One thing, they've got very specific rules about what you can say. But on top of the cultural things, their main audience was a woman based in kind of Saudi Arabia or the UAE, etc. Right? So they had a bunch of cultural norms. And how they expected to see the product description was less about what it is and more about why you would use it. So if it was a table, it would be, this is great for a family gathering, especially at iftar, etc., right? So you had to pull those cultural elements in and start talking about how it works, why it's important. The why is really important in this aspect. But also you've got to make sure that you still cross-pollinate between what you've said in English, which was really, really challenging, actually.
Yeah, that's really interesting, yeah. And so AWS Amplience, we have a really strong partnership. What are some of the ways or some of the services that you use today from AWS?
Yeah, I mean, everything is built on AWS, but in terms of AI, the core is Bedrock, because it just gives us access to all of the models. So it has that abstraction layer that allows us to access, whether it's Claude or whether it's the new Nova models, and as new models arrive, it helps us plug them in, and then we've got another abstraction layer on top of that. So we use a huge amount of Bedrock, and it's really useful, and because of our close partnership, it means that we can phone you guys up and help scale it out when we need to for customers. The other thing we use is we use SageMaker as well for, say, some of the tools. Things like background removal if it's not available in a normal service through Bedrock, which I think it might be now through Bedrock, through the Nova model. Then we can build those using the SageMaker tools. So we've got a whole bunch of tools that are running in SageMaker as well.
All right, maybe one final question then. For retailers and merchants out there, where would you recommend they get started? How do you get started with all of this?
Yeah, so I have this question a lot when I'm out there. And when you show flows, for instance, when everyone gets really excited, say, how do we get started with that? Actually, what you've got to do is you've got to go back a little bit. It's more of an approach, right? You have to start back with the kind of studio, and you have to start back at the assistant bit, because although you could implement flows pretty simply and easily, there is I think someone mentioned it before, there's a cultural aspect to implementing AI. It's almost like a digital transformation in some respects, right? Because if you start remodeling your content supply chain, you've really got to understand, where you want, how you're going to use people within that supply chain. What they get, are they going to be confident being involved with this? How are you going to get the best value out of them in that process? What systems are going to be relevant in the future, right? And how do you get people really bought into it? Because it is a cultural change, And to do that, if you start using the studio, for instance, users can just start playing around with it and get really comfortable with it. And then you can then integrate it through the APIs and actually get some immediate value. And you can make decisions on what areas you really want to start implementing workflows, right? And get the team involved with doing that, right? Rather than just go, we're just going to model it out and see what happens. You actually bring everybody along that journey. So when you get to the point where you're working with flows, you've got your entire team's buy-in, and everyone can see the value in what's happening, and you can really start to fundamentally redesign the workflows and not just do the same steps you did before.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it's certainly a fascinating time to live through this, right? Yeah. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for your insights, and I'm really looking forward to the rest of the event this afternoon. Thank you.